We are here looking over the Kitatonga Plains on the Katumu River in Katavi National Park. How about that for some names nobody will ever remember? But in any event, this, as you can see, is an extensive grassland plain bordering the Katumu River that is mostly dry grassland this time of year and undoubtedly turns into very wet grassland / marsh during the wet season. And it's quite an expansive floodplain grassland system. And this Katumu River and this floodplain is a central feature of this national park. This and another river that come together. Much of it is woodland, savanna, as we'll see, undoubtedly. But this is one of the big open grassland patches. What I don't see out here yet are any grazing herds of animals. So either they're not here this time of year, or they're just not out this time of day, because this is first thing in the morning. We shall see. Okay, bye. I'm still on the Kitatonga Plains, and I wanted to report that I found some grazing herds in a different section of the plains. And you won't be able to tell from this distance, but that's a big herd of topi. It's a type of antelope. I think I probably introduced you to Sesame farther south. This is essentially very similar antelope, but up here it's the topi. And most of the topi, which have a very restricted range, are centered on the Serengeti, which we're heading to in several days. And this is kind of an outlier population down here in Katavi of topi. And then mixed in with the topi are a bunch of zebra. So there might be a couple hundred, few hundred topi and, I don't know, 50 or more zebra. So, anyways, we actually have some grazing animals, as we would expect on this extensive grassland plain. And that means there's probably lions too, but I haven't heard any yet. Okay, cheers. A follow-up to yesterday's sighting of this large topi herd out on Kitatonga Plains. Here they are again. They've moved to a different part of the plain, but what I forgot to mention, which is kind of a cool feature of this antelope species, is that it's said that the topi and the closely related Sesame are the fastest antelope in all of Africa. So they can reach speeds vastly exceeding those of like lion, for example. And they tend to stay out on the open grasslands where they can use their speed to their advantage. So again, the topi. Alright, bye. Just another quick follow-up to yesterday's comments about the Kitatonga Plains and where are all the grazing herds. Well, as we've seen now, some herds of topi and zebra, but these plains are also famous for their large Cape buffalo herds, and I hadn't seen any up until now. I've just seen scattered individuals and couple bulls here and there, but now I have found a couple very large buffalo herds. One here you can see in this scene, and then there's another big one off in the distance, which you won't be able to see in this video. But anyways, these huge herds of buffalo are what kind of makes the Katasunga Plains somewhat famous. It also is what attracts the lion prides to this area, which unfortunately I have not encountered. But with these large buffalo herds, you can bet there's lions lurking around. Alright, cheers. Still on Katasunga Plain, and just encountered another very large mixed herd of topi and zebra. A little hard to tell at this distance, I'm sure, for you folks. But trust me, all those black dots out there, those are all topi. And then a scattering of zebra mixed in. But mostly topi. So, these plains certainly are supporting lots of topi. And apparently lots of buffalo, as we've now seen. Alright, cheers. Okay, this is a very cool species. It's called a sand grouse. This is the yellow-throated sand grouse. And I'm hoping you can hear their interesting little call. But these guys are famous for basically having specialized feathers and dousing their feathers with water to store the water, and then flying up to, like, I don't know, 50 kilometers away or 100 kilometers away, where they will nest and forage. And so they periodically make these big flights, collect all this water in their feathers, and they can take it back to their nestlings and give them a drink that way. Very cool species, a group of species. Alright, bye. Check this out. This is the ultimate mud bath. You see all those mounds in that mud out there? Those are all hippos. I'll zoom in. These guys are soaking in the mud here. It almost doesn't even look real. Every once in a while they rotate their tail or lift their head up or gurgle or something, but when I was first come down here I did not think those were hippos. I thought it was just mud. How bizarre. Okay, I have moved a little closer to our hippos in the mud. Boy, you wouldn't think most of them were even alive. Other than the occasional movement. Pretty wild. This is, by the way, on the river right next to my campsite in Katavi National Park. Unfortunately, my campsite is set back about 100 yards from this river and floodplain, so I can't watch this spectacle from my campsite. I have to walk out to this spot. Alright, more to come. Bye. Here comes somebody home to roost. Was either out grazing or was out in the river. Yeah, it looks like maybe he's going to come back and join the gang here in the mud pile. He's like, hey guys, is there room for me in there? Looks pretty tight. Oh, comes the big guy out of the mud. Look at that. This guy's looking for the perfect entry into the mud hole. Can't decide. Quite the cacophony of sounds made from both ends of these creatures. This guy just can't quite decide where to go in. He stopped and looked into the mud hole about 10 different places. Still can't find the right entry place. Oh. Hey, maybe that's the spot. Yep. Yep, that's the spot. Alright. Have a good soak. Just watch these guys rolling over in the mud. Here comes another guy to join the bath. Boy, I don't know, there must be at least 100 hippos in this mud hole. Alright. Oh, there goes somebody out. Alright. Enough of hippos in the mud. Cheers. Just caught a nice big yawn there. Well, they certainly have a lot to say. I just wish I understood their language. Cheers. On the Katavi River again. It's one of the better access points to the river. Obviously those are a bunch of hippos. And there were several really big crocodiles over there on the sandy banks, but I scared them off and they went into the water, unfortunately. Actually, I just realized that one of the crocodiles did not scramble into the water. These guys are really striking. They've got a really bold, kind of black and yellow barred pattern. Really pretty. You could say that about crocodiles. There's another one sitting over in the grassy area over there. So at least a couple of them didn't scramble into the water. There are hundreds and hundreds of yellow-billed storks here along the river. And this is one we're looking at here. See, he's feeding with his bill open. Kind of walks through the water or stands, keeps his bill open until a fish comes through, and then snaps it up. This is the Katavi River and its floodplain, and just wanted to show you this very impressive herd of impala. And granted, impala are ubiquitous and super abundant, but this is a massive herd of impala, one of the biggest I think I've seen. There must be several hundred here. And I'm pretty sure it can't be a single breeding herd, single harem. There's no way a buck could keep all of these females together into one big group. So I'm not sure. This must be several groups together. Anyways, pretty cool. Alright, bye. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this very well, but that's a pretty cool monitor lizard. It just came out of the river, walking up the sandy bank. So Skylar, if you're watching, and you wanted to see dragons, this is as close as we get. Okay, buddy. Alright, here's another monitor lizard that has a tail. The tip of his tail has been bitten off, apparently. A very cool creature. I wish you could see it as clearly as I do through the binoculars. but this will have to do. Let's see who else has joined us on the sandbar. Oh, big crocodile came up and joined us. Alright, cheers. Well, look who decided to join us on the Katavi River floodplain. And being their usual very cautious self, they're not quite sure what to make of me yet. So we'll probably play the staring game for the next 15 minutes. Alright, cheers. This young one's getting a drink, obviously. And looks like the other two females have decided to join the others. Oh. These guys always have to be on the alert for lions, especially when they splay their front legs and go down for a drink. So it's common you'll see this where not all of them will go down at the same time. Okay, hope you're enjoying this, Kara. Bye. Okay, here's a giraffe that, for a change, is not too skittish. Giraffes are usually fairly skittish, so it's a rarity to find one that will let you get this close without them getting too disturbed. Hello, little lady. And now we're going to have a stare down, so I think I'm going to end this video. Alright, bye. Here's a circle of life scene. We've got, unfortunately, a dead hippo in this little channel of the Katavi River. And we've got a whole pile of marabou storks here to pick it apart. Although they're not being all that aggressive right now. They're just standing around and maybe they're waiting for some other larger scavenger to tear this hide open. All right. Cheers. In studying this scene further, I do believe these storks are a little dumbfounded. I think they came into the scent of a carcass, but then they realized they can't penetrate that thick hippo hide, so they're kind of just standing around and trying to figure out what to do. I think they need a hyena or somebody to come in and tear it open. And once that skin gets torn open, then I think these guys will go to town on it. Okay. Cheers. Okay, while these storks were standing around trying to figure out what to do with this hippo carcass, there's some fish that must have come into this little channel. And the storks are now going, well, they were kind of going crazy for a while there. This guy at the very end on the left caught a pretty nice sized fish, and the others chased him around a little bit, and eventually this guy was able to swallow it. As you can see, these guys are now excited about the possibility of catching fish here. So they've kind of switch their attention from the hippo carcass to searching for a fish coming into this channel. But so far, none of the others have caught any that I can tell. Okay, cheers again. I decided to move in a little closer and watch these marabou storks fish, although these two in the front just stopped. A couple in the back are still fishing. Pretty wild. Doesn't seem like a very efficient strategy to just keep dipping your bill in and hope you feel something or see something. It's markedly different than what we see the yellow-billed storks do, which is kind of stand very still with their bill open in the water, kind of waiting for a fish to come, in between its bills, and then it clamps shut. Okay. Bye. We have some African spoonbills. Hopefully you can see that spoon-billed shape of the bill, who came into our little channel with the dead hippo. They also have a black kite flying around. I don't know if I'll be able to capture it. There he is. Oops, there goes the spoonbills. Oh, fish eagle just flew in and chased the black kite. And there was also a snowy egret. Okay, bye. Just a quick follow-up, an errata to my previous statement. I think I said snow egret. And for you birders out there that are trying to keep me honest, well, I meant little egret. That's what this little white guy is in the water there. A little egret. Okay. Bye. Okay, look who's trying to get in on the action. That croc is probably, I would imagine, 8 feet in length from snout to tip of tail. You can't really see the end of his tail at this point, but I don't know what he's trying to do here. If he's going to try to sneak in this little slough and see if he can't nab somebody, or maybe he's actually going to go try to tear open that hippo carcass. We'll see. Ooh, he just submerged. Let's see if he surfaces and goes after one of these storks. And if it happens, it'll be quick. Although I understand that some crocs don't like to eat birds. Some do, some don't. So, it's hard to know if this guy's a bird-eating croc or not. Oh, there he is. If you can see him there. That marabou stork is looking down at him. And those yellow-billed storks all have their heads in the water. Alright, I was just surprised by an elephant. I'm sitting here in my chair on the river bank watching the bloated dead hippo and all the scavenging birds, as you have been hearing. And the wind's been blowing through a little palm tree above me and making some noise, so I was hearing the noise and didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden the noise changed a little bit. I turn around and there's this elephant right behind me on the road. And then by the time I got my camera up, he kind of moved off to the side, as you can see. But got to stay a little more alert. Alright, cheers. Alright, we got some action here at our dead hippo. Unfortunately, I kind of missed the principal action. That big croc that we saw come in earlier and turn around and leave. Well, it came in and grabbed a hold of that hippo and turned the whole damn thing over. So as you can see, the hippo is all oriented differently now. I don't know if in doing that it tore it open. But I suspect if it keeps at it, it will. And then all these other scavengers will have a feast. Just barely see the crocodile in the back now, behind the hippo. Alright. Next chapter on this Circle of Life scene. Bye. I'm at Katavi National Park, and shortly after coming through the park boundary, I have encountered a matriarchal family group that seem to be very habituated to humans, which is nice. They're not running at first sight like they were in most places in Zambia. Even the little guy here seems to be not too concerned. It's a nice start to the visit to this park. I'm optimistic. Okay, more to come on this park and its wildlife. Cheers. Well, in case you were wondering, this is the southern ground hornbill. It's the largest hornbill in Africa, and they spend almost all their time walking around on the ground, foraging for insects, small vertebrates, seeds, anything really. But the reason I recorded this is because of that sound, that booming sound, and hopefully it's being recorded. This is one of the classic sounds in Africa. In the morning when you're waking up, you hear this coming from all directions in the distance. And right now we have two ground hornbills. They're about 40-50 yards apart, calling back and forth to each other. Kind of a duet. Pretty cool. Okay. Bye. I am standing on the edge of Lake Katavi in Katavi National Park, and I'm videoing this because I think this depicts a really interesting dynamic about sub-Saharan Africa, at least eastern and southern Africa, that it's hard for us to appreciate in the temperate climates of the United States. And here, the temperatures don't vary that much between summer and winter because we're relatively close to the equator, and given its position on the African landmass. But the big dynamic here, of course, is the wet versus dry. And their summertime, which is our wintertime, so let's say from November through March, it's the wet season. And then from May through October, it's the dry season. And so that drives the dynamic in the ecosystems here, and pretty much drives everything. And Lake Katavi here is a really interesting example of a seasonal lake. So as far as the eye can see, north, south, and west from my position, during the wet season, this is all a shallow lake, probably 10 feet deep for most of it, maybe a little deeper in parts. But during the dry season, now, as you can see, the lake is mostly dried up, and there's just a series of channels and pools, some relatively small, and then a few big ones that have kind of remnants of the lake. And it's pretty cool because there's just extensive mud flats, and a lot of the mud flats develop lush growth of grass during this time of year, which feeds a lot of the grazing animals. Anyway, it's pretty hard to imagine that this is a humongous lake during the wet season compared to what we see now. Lake Katavi. Alright, cheers.